Governor Jeff Landry joined Attorney General Liz Murrill for the news conference. He said news reports about the grand jury investigating the AG proves someone leaked secret information.
They broke the law. They could go to jail. And we know that has happened because y'all called us.
And by the way, not just called us, called me and gave me
Specifics.
information that could only be confidential information from inside the room. That's what makes it a crime. And, you know, I want to know what happened. I think you ought to want to know what happened.
Landry claimed the press was complicit, even though we questioned the process used to indict Murrill, and WWL's investigative producer and attorney were handcuffed when they were told to leave the courthouse, a public space, after they sought access to an open court hearing.
Are you saying the press was complicit? My producer got handcuffed trying to cover this story.
The question becomes this, why are y'all shocked that the Attorney General would ask for a public records request?
The grand jury's criminal charges against Murrill were dismissed and the case was closed, but she's not done trying to find out how and why a New Orleans grand jury came to investigate her for allegedly threatening city leaders.
If it turns out that this did just magically happen without anybody being involved in it and nobody was targeting me because they were mad at the governor or mad at me, you know, which is bizarre and nobody believes that. But if somehow in some world that turns out to be true, then I accept that. But I don't believe that that's true. And I don't think anybody believes that that's true.
Murrill's attorney filed lawsuits Wednesday against District Attorney Jason Williams and Special Prosecutor Lori White, asking a court to order them to turn over their communications and other records.
I want to see what the records show. If they have records, then they should produce them. They didn't answer those questions.
Williams didn't respond to our request for comment Wednesday, but he has disavowed any involvement in indicting Murrill after he recused from the case.
I don't want to fight with the governor. I don't want to fight with the AG. I've made it very, very clear that I played no role. I did not initiate or handle any part of that grand jury investigation.
I spoke by phone with Special Prosecutor Lori White, who tells me she is going to turn over whatever records the judge orders her to, but she said that shouldn't include her personal texts and emails. White told me she didn't violate any grand jury secrecy, but Murrill alleged White did just that in texts with former federal prosecutor Pat Fanning, where White told him she, quote, tried to talk them, meaning the grand jury, out of this and couldn't.
I want to know if she had communications outside the scope of her proper involvement with the grand jury. And we already, frankly, know that she did. She had a phone call with Pat Fanning. I have their text message. And she denied that she had any records before we found out that text message existed. So we already know that her answer is false.